Hey everyone, welcome back to Nutrition Made Simple, a series that we created that takes a look at ideas surrounding natural health topics, and then we break them down into easy to understand and actionable steps that you can take. I'm joined again today by Ed Jones. He is the founder and owner of Nutrition World. And for our next few videos, we're going to be focusing on gut health. And a big part of gut health, obviously, is the foods we eat and how we digest them. And that's kind of what we wanted to chat about a little about today. But we're going to take a look at one product in particular, and that's digestive bitters. Now, if you haven't heard of them, you're not alone. They're probably not on a ton of people's radar, but they are a very useful tool, and I actually really like them. I even kind of like the way they taste, in all honesty, but we'll get to that in just a second. So starting off, Ed, just to give people a broad overview, can you break down a little bit of the history of digestive bitters, where they've been used, and how long have they really been around?
Well, thank you, Brian. Well, first off, they've been used for a long time. In fact, there are some testing that's been done on the tombs in Egypt from so long ago that actually found herbal bitters on the tombs. So I don't know how long, but that's quite some time. Herbal bitters are a combination of plant-based herbs that, of course, the name denotes it, have bitter properties to it. You know, one of the stories I heard decades ago, and I'm not a farmer, but I'm kind of a nature boy, is that animals, when they get sick, they will try to find bitter plants to eat because they instinctively know things that we don't. We've lost that instinct. And bitters can be amazing for our health, which we will get to. So they have a very long history. And you know, the World Health Organization says 70% of the world still uses botanical medicines. That means earth-based, kind of nature's pharmacy. Why is that? They're effective, they're relatively inexpensive, and they're very safe if done properly. And we just need to keep building this toolbox of alternative and options for our health, especially as we age.
Yeah, I think it's interesting if you start to just really think about the foods that we eat. There's not really a whole lot of bitter foods that are a usual rotation in our diet. So that's where these can be really helpful, because if you think about what they do, which we'll talk about in just a minute, it's really curious how many gut issues are out there right now today and how little bitter food that we actually consume. So there is a distinct connection there. I think what we need to talk about next is what's in them. You mentioned that they're mainly herbal based. Now, are there usual herbs that are contained within this product? Are there different kinds? What's typically in them?
Yeah, Brian, there's a number of things that grow on this earth that are considered bitter. And we all, and you mentioned it very clearly that, we really don't eat many of these. I think, again, we've lost a lot of our taste buds and our instincts for gravitating toward the kind of foods that support this physical body of ours. But things like artichoke and dandelion and fenugreek and burdock, and one that's not as common, gentian root, all of these are very bitter. When I say bitter, that means taste bitter. But they have properties in them. And I kind of use the analogy of, if I come home and I've had the air conditioner and heat off on the off button, I'm going to walk in and I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to set the thermostat to where I want the best results. That's what we're going to talk about with how bitters work. When I take bitters, they have tremendous abilities for digestion. In fact, about 30% of our digestion occurs in the mouth, not in the stomach. Well, guess what bitters do? Number one is they stimulate saliva, but they also make it more potent with these enzymes called amylase and a little bit of lipase that actually starts the digestion process. And Brian, it does matter the quality of food you eat. Of course, that's what we talk about, but it won't matter the quality if you don't digest it. And that is where this comes in. I'm a huge fan of other methods like enzymes and this and that for digestion, but I want to help this body to be optimal, to do its own job as best it can. And I love doing bitters when I need them. Some people do them all the time. I use them as needed.
Okay. So we know that they're herbal compounds mainly. They have a very bitter taste that triggers some things within our body. What are some of the things that it triggers? I think you mentioned a couple of them already. And what is it that those things do to help our digestion and increase our nutrient absorption?
Well, in order to break foods down, we have to have a series of what called enzymes. Without those, the food basically doesn't get digested. We don't get the right nutrients or the right compounds from it. And bitters, I kind of thought about this before we came and produced this little segment. Back in the old days when everybody cooked at home, grandmother, mother, whoever, you would never walk in usually to your kitchen, sit down, and immediately start eating food. What would you do? You would smell the food for sometimes an hour. You would probably look at the food. You would sit there as granny or mother or whoever or father was putting it on the table.
You'd go in the kitchen and steal food.
That's right. But that prepared this system to be ready to do what it naturally should do, which is take our food and digest it. We don't do that anymore. I mean, most of us eat out quite often. We sit down. We don't have the smell. We order the food. By the time it puts on our plate, we're probably eating it within 60 seconds. That isn't the rhythm of nature, and I love respecting the rhythm of nature. Herbal bitters are going to stimulate saliva, stimulate bile from our liver and gallbladder, which makes fat digest easier. Fat's not the easiest to digest, especially for people who don't have gallbladders, but the thing is, bitters make your liver make more bile. So even if you don't have a gallbladder, it can be helpful.
Okay.
It's going to help digest the protein, fats, and carbs because it's upregulating what we already are supposed to do. But because we're in such a hurried state, and again, like I use the analogy of eating back in the old days, we don't prepare ourselves. Well, if I do these 5 minutes or even 2 minutes before I eat a meal, it's vastly different how I feel. I have less bloating. I have better digestion. And if I have nausea, it's incredible what bitters can do for me. Now, there are people who are way too taste bud picky. Sorry, I don't have a lot of patience for that. Just admit it, because I eat to fuel my body first and taste second. And so bitters are not something you probably will like at first, but it's quick acting. You seem to have a taste for them. I do too, but that's because we've used them.
Yeah.
You have to get past the initial stage. But using them 2 to 5 minutes before a meal is pretty outstanding. And the number one, I think probably most common recommendation I have for people, they come into Nutrition World and they say, I have lost my appetite due to whatever reason. Or my grandmother, she's older. She's going through these treatments. She doesn't have any appetite. Bitters can stimulate an appetite in people who have underactive appetite. It won't make you eat more if you have normal. When I had the virus, I lost my appetite. Well, guess what I used? Herbal bitters. I would do that because I didn't want any food. But when I did some of this, it helped me, not immensely, but helped me enough to feel better and actually make me kind of want to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Ed said, I mean, digestion is a multi-fold process. That's the foods we eat, how we eat them. Are we chewing our foods well? Are we taking our time? Are we, scarfing it down in 5 minutes like I'm definitely guilty of, because we're all busy and in a hurry. And if that's the case for you, and if you're having some digestive trouble, then these are a really great and easy option. It's something you can do right before a meal. And quite honestly, when I take these regularly, like I'm pretty sure my body actually craves them before a meal. It's because I've gotten into that habit, and it's like you can literally feel that craving for that bitter before you eat your meal, whatever that may be. So a really great option, really unique if you're having digestive troubles. These are something that you should definitely consider, along with digestive enzymes and some of the other things that we mentioned. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. That helps us out tremendously. Hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when each of these videos comes out every week. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Nutrition Made Simple.
And thank you, everyone.